What if you're not unhappy? You're just postponing your life. What if self-love isn't something you feel about yourself, but something you practice by allowing yourself to be touched by your own life? What if loving yourself has less to do with affirmations and more to do with how much of your life you actually let yourself live? Not someday, not on vacation, not on the weekend, not when things calm down. Today. Hello and welcome back, beautiful souls. Welcome back to SoulSHINE. This episode is part of a trilogy. In episode 38, what if the goal is not happiness, but wholeness? We embrace the radically holistic view of ourselves that relieves unnecessary suffering. And then in episode 39, when you see yourself as your soul's wildest dreams, we saw ourselves and our lives with wonder and with reverence, exactly like it is, without striving for worth. Today, we're going to deepen this even further. And by the end of the episode, I hope that you'll understand how postponing joy quietly disconnects you from your own life, and how self-love is practiced by letting yourself fully live the moments you already have. Because loving yourself and accepting your humanity means you stop postponing your life and you live it fully. Here's how we're going to walk through this together. First, we'll name the subtle way that so many of us delay living. And then we'll deconstruct why postponing joy is so costly, both psychologically and emotionally. And finally, we'll land in a reframe that the ultimate self-love is the courage to touch life now. No pressure, no indulgence, just presence. So let's begin. There's a habit that many of us share. We don't call it self-abandonment. We masquerade it with this wonderful word called responsibility. I'll enjoy my life on vacation. I'll relax after retirement. It's Tuesday. I'll wait till the weekend. But what kind of life is that? A life we're always waiting to begin. It's not that most people don't feel joy. It's just that they defer the joy. And that deferred joy is subtle. It shows up in how often we rush through what could actually be nourishing. Like, let's think about this. Who had tea this morning or coffee? How quickly did you swallow your coffee or tea without tasting it? Or even water. It doesn't have to be coffee or tea. Maybe you're listening to this in the afternoon or after a workout. Water. How quickly did you just swallow it down? How did you eat lunch while you were answering emails? How did you take a breath without feeling your lungs expand and your chest open? How is our body here doing things, but our attention is somewhere else? Maybe it looks like we're standing at the sink and we are washing dishes or drinking something while scrolling, never really tasting it, never really feeling the dish and the soapy water in our hands, the temperature of it. Maybe we're driving home and we don't even realize that we're driving. We don't remember the drive at all. Did we see the sky? Did we see the trees? I don't know. It's not dramatic. It's just moments that are gone. It shows up in the way that pleasure feels conditional, as if it has to be earned or paid back tit for tat, as if it's only appropriate after everything else is handled. So then joy gets scheduled for vacations, for weekends, for milestones, someday over there in that life. But life doesn't pause in the meantime. Tuesday still happens. Ordinary moments still happens. Washing the dishes, drinking our water, having tea and coffee. This breath still happens. And when those moments go untouched, something inside of us learns that our experience doesn't matter. Just our output matters. And that doesn't mean that you're ungrateful for your life. It just means you're not consciously allowing yourself to be in it, to savor it. And over time, that creates this kind of low-grade grief, not for something huge we lost, but for a life we're technically living without fully receiving it back, as if real life is scheduled for later, after the kids are grown, after the next milestone, after the next crisis passes. And that pain isn't loud. It doesn't show up like as a crisis itself or a collapse. It could be dull. It could be quiet. It's kind of that sense that days blur together while something essential is going untouched. A sense that maybe life is happening around you, but not quite through you and with you. Maybe nothing technically is wrong. You're functioning, you're responsible, you're getting through the day, and yet there's that quiet distance between you and your own experience. You keep telling yourself later I'll enjoy this, later I'll slow down, later I'll let myself feel, and later has a way of never arriving. And the danger isn't that something terrible happens, it's that nothing happens. And the cost accumulates. The days pass, the moments blur, and life gets managed instead of lived, inhabited. This is where we move from noticing the habit to understanding the cost. So let's talk about that cost. When we delay joy, life doesn't stay neutral. It contracts psychologically. There's research to show that waiting to live makes time feel heavier, longer, and more effortful. And we actually can get impatient, not because we're entitled, but because we're ready to enjoy life. And yet we're not giving ourselves the permission. There's science that says the reason delaying pleasure increases impatience and dissatisfaction is because your actual sense of time, it just gets dragged out. And over time, postponing pleasure teaches you that this moment, it doesn't matter. That's erosion. Most of us are living inside of that tension between the part of us that knows how to hold everything together, but then the part of us that longs to feel alive. We tell ourselves we're being selfless, we're prioritizing others, that this is what love looks like. Yeah, I know, because I've been there too, and I still have to fight with that in my own mind and be aware of it. You're not alone. So here's the uncomfortable truth that I have learned the hard way, and I continue to learn. I learned it at the bedside of taking care of critically ill children for decades. My job was to make sure that we did everything that we could for these children to survive. Even away from their homes, away from their loved ones, in a hospital bed, at times unconscious. And for what? For the chance to live, not just survive and get back home and get back to their loved ones, but to actually make it count to live. I'm going to say this slowly. Survival is not the same as living. Are you surviving? Or are you living? Touching the joys and the depths of life. And I would really remember thinking to myself, okay, we got this one healthy enough to go home to get out of the hospital, but now what? I hope they have a good life. I hope they fully live. I hope they take this second chance and fully knows what this means. And here I would be sacrificing time from my young children and from my life for what? To give them the chance to live. I hope it's beautiful. I hope it's full. And then I would think about myself, what kind of example am I? What about society? What are we teaching them? We're putting the fish back in the pond, but what about the pond? What are we modeling? What does it mean to go back into a life that withholds pleasure, that judges our needs, that keeps us trapped in our heads and out of our hearts? That's not devotion, that's disappearance. That part of you that postpones pleasure. It isn't cruel. It's not a bad thing. It's competent. It's protecting you. It knows how to keep things moving. And it learned early on how to be dependable, how to put our needs aside, how to prioritize survival for both you and for other people. And that deserves respect. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It has a beautiful purpose. And there is another part of you that didn't disappear. Just learn to wait quietly. The part that wants to linger, to enjoy, to feel the beauty without justification. We think that tension is between us being selfish and us being responsible. But what if it's more profound than that? What if it's between survival and aliveness. Many of us were taught implicitly that choosing aliveness is irresponsible, that enjoying life too much is frivolous, it's reckless, and that pleasure can distract us from duty. So, of course, we become excellent at managing life and strangers of how we really inhabit it. So here's the reframe I want to offer you. And you could just pass over the sentence. So I'm going to slow it down because I think it's beautiful. A beautiful way to change how we understand self-love. That self-love is not only a feeling. It's the amount of life you let yourself live. It's whether you drink your coffee from your favorite mug instead of just the closest one to the sink. It's whether in the 5 minutes you have for lunch, you actually taste the food. Let it nourish your body that has carried you all day. It's whether once in a while you say, you know what? This meeting can wait. And you take yourself to a beautiful lunch, maybe a picnic outside, next to a window, not as rebellion, but as reverence, not as indulgence, as presence with yourself. Letting life touch you doesn't require like grand gestures or spending a lot of money. It can be in the smallest of our decisions, the ones we usually dismiss as insignificant. Those are the untapped potential. Usually the big ones we do plan, we do think about it, we do savor it, we save up for it, But the rushed, ordinary coffee, tea, water, yeah, that's the untapped potential. Using the mug or the to-go cup with like care, with intention. Even if it's only for 5 minutes as I smell and taste this food. When I walk up to my car, do I look up at the sky instead of straight on my phone? When joy is woven into those moments through savoring, through presence, attention, your well-being stabilizes. Not that it's spiking up and down. It's just baseline, stable. This is why someday it doesn't always feel as good as we imagine, does it? And why a single beautiful moment today can change how the rest of your day unfolds. You're in a good mood. You're a little more chipper. You're a little more present just because you gave yourself a moment to be with your life, to be with yourself. These are micro moments of pleasure. So here's a simple practice to move it into reality that you can try today. First, just choose an ordinary moment. It doesn't matter what it is. Second, remove distraction for 60 seconds. And third, let yourself receive it without earning it or justifying it. That's it. And here's the part that surprises people. Touching life doesn't make you less responsible or self-indulgent somehow. It actually just makes you more resourced. I want to share research from an article in mindfulness that measures that these savoring moments increase our psychological well-being and our life satisfaction. It'll be in the show notes. So when you let yourself receive pleasure, even if it's brief, 60 seconds, your nervous system, it has to be safe enough to receive it. And when you are in that state of safety and receiving, your perspective returns. And then when you return to that meeting, that project, that deadline, maybe you're now showing up from fullness instead of obligation, from a place that wants to contribute because it's tasted something worth protecting, something that's meaningful. That is what sustainability looks like. Not sacrifice that empties and drains you, but presence that replenishes you. That's self-love. Just even notice what happens to your body when you let yourself enjoy something small, how your shoulders drop, how your breath is a little deeper, time is a little more spacious. There's research from neuroscience and behavioral reviews that tell us when you experience pleasure in the present moment, time literally compresses. You know that saying, time flies by when you're having fun? This is the science behind it. And the article will be in the show notes. So life does feel fuller, not because you actually did more, but because you were there for all of it. We've all experienced this, enjoying something without rushing, without narrating, without earning it. And even though the time does fly faster, you have a real moment or a memory etched inside of you, and that doesn't go away. You can always revisit that. That's the difference between living on the surface of your days and living inside of your days, taking them with you, making them a part of you. And so savoring, it doesn't drain our motivation, it restores our motivation. You return to your responsibilities with that full heart from overflow and not depletion. And you can feel this in real time. So I want you to do this with me right now. Take a quick pause before you move on and just take one slow breath. That's it. Wow, let your shoulders drop. Do you notice what that feels like to be here just for a second? And if this is giving you that permission to live more, take a moment, subscribe to SoulSHINE. It's how this community grows and how these conversations reach people who need them. Let's keep growing together, whether it's on Instagram at soulshine_global or in the comment section of Spotify and YouTube. Your voice matters. The world needs your wisdom. Please share your gift with us. Okay, so let's return back to savoring our life. I don't speak to this abstractly. I speak to it because I know what it's like to live responsibly, competently, selflessly, and yet feel untouched by my own life. I know what it's like to mistake endurance for love. And I know what changes when you allow yourself to taste life again, not by abandoning responsibility, just by inhabiting it differently. This is lived, it's not theory. There was a point in my life where I could keep everyone else safe, but I couldn't feel myself anymore. I was doing everything right, holding everything together, and something was missing, something essential. And I realized that surviving, even nobly, was not the same as living. And the most loving thing I could offer myself and to others was not more sacrifice. It was presence to myself, to my heart, to my dreams, to my truth, to my expression, the willingness to touch life again in all of its depth and all of its beauty, to let each moment matter that I could, to model a life that was not just endured, but received right now. That realization changed how I show up in everything. In the conversation, I'll have routine Zoom conversation, and yet I'm really aware to look at the person's eyes, to see the way the light casts shadows on them, to be open to connection. And it's not easy, and I'm not perfect, but I'm committed to trying. I'm committed to living it as much as I can and not judging the days when I can or how much was enough or not enough, just that I could, even if it was for one moment, even if it was for 60 seconds. I know that I lived those 60 seconds. So if this is resonating with you, it's not because you're selfish. This pattern didn't begin with us. It's shaped by cultures and history that reward productivity over presence, by systems that praise endurance but ignore our vitality, by caregiving roles that taught love as depletion instead of circulation, giving and receiving. So if this does resonate with you, it doesn't mean that you have failed at your self-love. I don't want you to think that. It just means that you've done an excellent job at learning how to survive in a world that rarely teaches us how to live, to really live as a way to love ourselves. And you're not alone in unlearning that. Many of us were never taught that presence is a part of love. We learn duty, sacrifice, delay, but not how to let joy circulate through an ordinary day. I know that you don't just come here to SoulSHINE to be inspired, but to be more of you. And so right now, I want you to decide that today you will give yourself one moment that you didn't rush. Maybe it's one sip, one bite, one pause. Let it matter, not because it was productive, but because you are alive. This isn't about abandoning your life. It's about inhabiting it with intention, with reverence, with satisfaction. When you touch life regularly, responsibility feels less like a burden and feels more like a devotion. You show up less from depletion and more from fullness. That is sustainable love for me, for you, for all of us. That single moment might not look like anything out the outside. That's a thing. Like, it might be invisible. No one can tell. They just see you drinking your coffee, taking a deep breath. But on the inside, you know, it changes more than what it looks like on the outside. Because once you remember what it feels like to be present, it's hard to forget. And you start noticing where life is asking to meet you, where joy is available without disruption, where beauty has been waiting patiently for you to notice it. And slowly, without force, your days begin to feel less like something to get through and more like something you're inside of. That's not being indulgent. That's intimacy with your own life. If you want to keep exploring this, all of the research I referenced, plus episodes 38 and 39 on accepting all of yourself, becoming the greatest love of your life, are linked to the show notes. And if you want to stay connected between the episodes, please come say hi on Instagram. It's at soulshine_global. For our ending tradition, here are questions to take home with you. What if self-love isn't something that you feel, but something you practice by how much of your life you allow yourself to live? What's one moment today you could stop rushing and just receive? I want you to save this and come back to it for all the times that you forget. Until next time, don't wait to live. This moment is already worthy of you. Wishing you all play, possibility, and peace. Wishing you to feel supported in this space. And I'm so honored to be a part of your soul tribe. Sending you love, and I'll see you next week. Bye.